Hello, welcome to Art Afternoons with SKOLA School. I'm Alistair. Today we're going to be talking about one of the world's most famous paintings, La Guernica, which was painted by Pablo Picasso, who I'm sure many of you have heard of before, the Spanish painter. So, why are we going to be talking about Guernica? Well, firstly, because it's one of the most amazing paintings that was ever produced. Secondly, because of the importance. And thirdly, because it's going to get you to start thinking about paintings, how to actually start analysing them and how to think about them in a different way. So, what are the aims of talking about Guernica today? Number one, the Spanish Civil War. What was the Spanish Civil War? Number two, you're going to be learning about why Picasso painted such a huge such a huge piece of work that kind of depicts pain and suffering, and to understand the key words which we are going to be looking at to help you understand the painting more. These are the words here, which we will be going through one by one. So, let's start with a bit of history. When was Guernica painted? It was painted on the 26th of April 1937. It depicts the bombing of a town called Guernica in the Basque country in the north of Spain. Now, the reason why it was bombed was because Nazi Germany, led by Adolf Hitler, and his allies, his team members, who were Mussolini from Italy, and General Franco, who was actually Spanish himself. And they were very much against a republican country, as they were nationalists, meaning that they wanted a one-party state for the countries around Europe. So, let's look at the subject matter, shall we? Because obviously there's a lot happening in this painting. Let's try and understand it a little bit, shall we? The woman and child. The woman holding a dead child. Now, everything in this painting, it does not celebrate, but it more shows a respect for the pain, and it shows pity for all the loss of life and the death that happened during the bombing of Guernica. So, the woman holding a child very simply represents all the life that was lost on that day. The black lines, as you can see in this middle piece of in the middle part of the painting here, they represent every person that died during the bombing. There's more or less 243 lines, meaning 243 people lost their lives on that day. The chicken, as you can see, although maybe you can't see it that clearly because actually it's in black and the painting is obviously black and white. It represents the suffering of animals, as the day on which Guernica was bombed, there was an animal market taking place. Not only was there a huge loss of human life, but also many animals were killed on that day also. Okay, as we can see, here we see a figure broken at the bottom of the piece, of the composition. We see a person broken. Now, this person here represents or symbolises the Spanish soldiers, the Spanish Republican soldiers. As you can see, he's here broken, his arm's broken off, his sword is broken. Right, so the horse, as we can see here in the middle, is meant to symbolise, which means represent, fascism. Some of you say, what is fascism? Fascism is what Adolf Hitler represented, and it means you have no other room for other people than yourself. Fascism means a one-party state. So, the bull, as we can see here, is meant to represent the people, the Spanish people. That's what a lot of people, when people look at the painting Guernica, they say that it represents the people of Spain, the people who lost their lives, as everything in this painting represents loss and death. Other people think it represents Picasso himself. Picasso painted the bull to symbolise himself, as he felt so strongly and he was just disgusted about the bombing that had taken place in Guernica. Therefore, as we're not sure what it does represent, it is ambiguous. There is a sense of ambiguity about what that represents there, which when looking at art is a very important thing. You might see one thing, whereas I might see another thing. So, the oil lamp. Can you see the oil lamp or the light? It's in the middle. There we are, well done. So, this is painted or was painted to show respect for the pain, for the death. Candles normally represent life or death. When people die, we light a candle for them. The oil lamp represents a respect from Pablo Picasso for the dead. So, moving on. As you can see, La Guernica was painted in black and white, or what we call a monochrome palette. Monochrome actually means one colour. One colour. You're probably saying, but I can see more than one colour. I can see white, I can see grey, I can see black. So yes, in that sense, there are more than one shade of colour. But actually, Picasso would have started with white. Picasso would have only used white, and he would have added black to make it darker. These areas here, we can see it around the outer skirts, are much darker. In the central composition, you can see there are different shades of grey. So if he had a white here, to achieve this grey here, he would have added a bit of black. To achieve this sense of grey here, he would have added a bit more black to make it darker. The areas which are really, really dark, he would have added lots of black. And then when he wanted to make his shades lighter again, what would he have done? He would have added more white. Well done, well done. Okay, now, normally when we look at famous works of art from history books, we think of very colourful pieces of work by other artists like Van Gogh or Frida Kahlo, even back to the Renaissance. So why could a monochrome painting have such importance? How could it be so significant to the modern day? And most importantly, why did Picasso choose to paint a monochrome palette painting? Now, as we know, Guernica represents death. It was about all the death, it was about the bombing that took place on that day in 1937. He wasn't out to celebrate anything. Why would he use colour if he has nothing to celebrate? There was no heroism there. All he wanted to do was show the pain and the anguish, which means physical or mental suffering, of what happened that day. That is the significance of Picasso choosing to paint this very, very important piece as a dedication to the people of Guernica. Okay, now, the key words we are looking at related to La Guernica are anguish, which means pain, well done. Powerful. Is it a powerful piece? Is it a strong piece? Does it make you think mentally? If you see this piece in real life, it is massive. It is absolutely massive. So when it is in front of you, it has a very powerful effect on you. I have seen it in real life, and I nearly cried. Bombing. The verb, a lot of that took place during the World War, not only the Spanish Civil War. Suffering. The pain of the human people represented in this piece. Interpretation, which is one of the most important things when looking at art. Not only when looking at art, when talking about art. Coming back to the ball, one person may interpret the ball as the Spanish people, another person may interpret it as Picasso himself. You may look at it and interpret it as something different. Fascism, something we have already discussed. Franco, Mussolini from Italy, the German dictator Adolf Hitler, who were all allies. Remember, they all represented fascism. Monochrome, the colour palette. Symbolism, what do these represent? What do they symbolise? Ambiguity, do you remember what that word means? Yes, well done. It means when there is not one clear meaning. Remember the bull. Does it represent Picasso or does it represent the people? Who knows? Democracy. Now, this is what the Allies were fighting against. They did not want democracy in Spain or in any other countries across Europe. They did not want an equal voting system for the whole of Europe. And finally, significance. Another word for significance could be importance. Not only what was the significance of the Spanish Civil War, what was the importance of it? What was the importance? What was the significance of his painting? What was the significance of Picasso choosing to show the loss of life through the use of animals, through the personification of animals in his painting? What's the importance of it? Now, all the facts we have looked at today are true. Guernica is a place in the north of Spain. It was bombed on that day in April in 1937. A lot of people did lose their lives. All these facts are true. However, interpretations are different. You may see one thing, I may see another. Someone from a different country may see something completely different. What do you see? What do you think? Thank you.